Greetings, everybody. Astro Titan 94 here, and you are tuning in to the Toku and Anime Night podcast. So, tonight's episode, we will be discussing Digimon Adventures 1999. Well, specifically, I'm going to be talking about this is going to be a series of multiple parts involving Digimon. Because I do want to cover the first story, but it's going to be technically a very long explanation. So I'm going to divide this to at least multiple parts until I've reached the final arc, the Dark Masters arc. So, with that being said, today we're going to be focusing on the introduction arc slash Devimon arc. Of the first adventure. As well as this, I will also be focusing on the of course, another topic, and that topic will be, of course, Playmates, the toy company, now making Power Ranger toys, and I'm going to talk about, of course, which season they're going to make the toys, and as well as there will be a Power Ranger show that will now be AI rendered. So, and of course, my honest opinions about this. And before I begin, um, I do have a Patreon account if you guys want to check that out, if you want to donate on Coffee. I also have a Coffee link. Patreon, I've explained this a few times, but once again, got to put the plug. There are three tiers. The benefits are all the same, but the $1 tier is it's basically the cheapest if you don't feel like donating that much money. And of course, hey, it's only $1. You're not really losing anything. $5 tier, you are technically paying a little more, but you're supporting the channel. But through that you're at least giving more, more money for the quality to improve. And the $10 tier, that's if you want to be really more giving. Um, and of course, for the coffee, definitely a donation of $3 is all right. But I do have goals for future cosplay plans. And of course, if you want to check those out, the links will be in the description down below. Make sure, but of course, for now, let's talk about today's series of topics. So I'm going to be talking about Digimon, but before I talk about Digimon, I want to give you guys a bit of a brief history on the Digimon series, or rather, what Digimon originally was. Now, a lot of people, especially today, many people thought that Digimon is a Pokemon ripoff just because the name sounds not only the same, but at the time in the United States, Digimon and Pokemon were actively competing against one another. But in Japan, it was not like that. As Digimon was not really competing against Pokemon, nor did Pokemon in Japan even cared about Digimon being a threat. But, but Digimon would instead be originally a VPET series, or a series of virtual pet games that, of course, were sort of okay. They were basically a spin-off brand from the Tamagotchi toys, or from the Tamagotchi virtual pet games. Now, of course, in case you guys don't know what Tamagotchis are, they were your little V pet devices that, oh, yeah, hey, yeah, you had like a virtual pet, like cat, dog, whatever. Of course, it's kind of like, of course, it's kind of like trying to raise like a pet, but though not a real actual pet. of course, you feed it, you give it exercise, you make sure, yeah, you make sure he goes to the toilet and sort, all that stuff. Yeah, a lot of mundane stuff, but people actually, but yeah, there were a lot of kids that did enjoy it. In fact, it was a very mad popular brand, but it was aimed for a girls' audience, but it was aimed for girls. So at the time, yeah, and this was at a time when, okay, boys brands like Power Rangers, even though there were some girl branded stuff from that series, Power Rangers was mostly aimed for boys. Same with Transformers around that time. Same with GI Joe. And in the '90s, and of course for girl stuff, Barbie, Polly Pocket, and Tamagotchi were the were the only things the girls could enjoy. So and of course Bandai, the company that made Tamagotchi, would make Digimon as sort of a means to promote it for boys. Um, the first VPET would come out late 1996, and of course would have a worldwide release to it in the United States in '97, and of course, Digimon was actually, and of course, Digimon was indeed a popular. Well, Digimon was somewhat of a yeah, Digimon was somewhat popular, but what separated from Tamagotchi was you could actually have your Digimon evolve into like a powerful version of itself, depending on how you train it. If you train it well, they become they become great powerful beings of strength, speed, agility, whatever. And of course, masters of masters of combat. But you raise them poorly, they become disobedient, definitely will have no such thing as loyalty, because who wants to be loyal to somebody that treats you like shit? Or better yet, if you don't even pick up its, or speaking of shit, if you don't even pick up its the Digimon poop, then guess what? It could digivolve into a big pile of shit. Yeah, yeah. There is a Digimon that's literally uh that's literally a sentient pile of fecal matter. Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, yeah, they came up with that idea, yeah, I don't know why they. Yeah, I don't know why some Digimon exist that way, but hey, it's because, hey, if you raise them right, then of course they become great, cool-looking warriors. But if you don't raise them right, you could have a grotesque parody of what they were, or a sentient, big, steaming pile of pink poo talking to you. And yeah, nobody wants nobody wants pink poo now. No, no one. No, not even me. Anyways, so yeah, and of course I do want to discuss, but in 1999, and this is where I want to discuss this right now, is that we would get an anime known as Digimon. It would come out early 1999. Of course, Toei Animation would be the ones to make it, and yeah, and of course, it would later on be released in the United States, with Saban Entertainment bringing it over to the West, and of course would provide the English dub, and indeed, it would indeed provide the English dubs for it. It would feature Joshua Seth as Ty, um, Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who was well known for Tails in the Sonic the Hedgehog '90s cartoons. She played Sora, Tom Fawn, Agumon, um, and as well as this, there was a lot of actors from sub. And in addition to it, there was a lot of Power Ranger actors who would get a chance to shine in the Digimon series. Names like Barbara Goodson, who was the voice actress for Rita. Well, she also got another chance to shine through voicing TK's mother, Nancy, who we call her here in the US. And speaking of TK, Wendy Lee, the voice of Scorpina and Alpha 6, she was, of course, the young TK, the young Takeru. But yeah, um, so yeah, definitely there was a wave of newer actors, but we also had some of the regulars from Saban Entertainment, like Michael Forrest, Bob Pappenbrook. The God rest that man's soul, by the way. His son, I'm glad his son is still, he's doing his thing in voice acting too. Um, David Lodge, Neil Kaplan. Those are, in fact, those were Power Ranger names who were well known for characters like Villamax, Diabolico, or Finster. Um, your Goldars, your Alphas, um, Ritos. Hell, even the late great Robert Axelrod would provide some Digimon voice acting. Um, so yeah, there was a lot of Saban actors, or at least from the voice acting perspective, that did actually contribute to the Digital Monsters series. So yeah, um, along with a few rising voice actors as well. Joshua Seth was one of those rising voice actors, and even included veteran actors such as like Colleen O'Shaughnessy, and later on Lara Jill Miller, who was not a voice actress in the beginning of her career. In fact, she was a sitcom actress, but of course she only did that just because she wanted to pursue a career in being an attorney, but that did not pan out for her because she was too well known as an actress. So yeah, she went back to acting. In fact, Digimon was actually one of her earlier roles of her second stint in acting. So definitely, there's been a lot of voice actors who were involved in the Digimon series, as well as none other than Steve Bloom. Yes, that Steve Bloom, the one who is the voice of many characters. Even he had his early start with the Digimon series. So let's actually talk about the overall story for the Digimon series. And yeah, and of course, I'm going to take a little bit of a water break. Okay, so the story goes as this. So, seven kids are on August 1st, 1999. Seven children. They they're in summer camp, right? In Japan, that is. They are in summer camp, having probably the best time of their lives, having fun, exploring stuff, all that. And then, of course, one day, once they got, and of course, one day on August 1st, they end up, of course, having to deal with snow in the middle of summer. But this was no ordinary snow. No, 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 no. Something big happened as seven devices, as seven devices showed up right in front of them through a meteor-like crash. They would, and of course, they would end up being embarked on a new world as they would get sucked in to a different world from one another. And of course, these children would discover that they're in a world like they've never been before. But they have actually been accompanied by but they would end up accompanying themselves with a well with a few small critters known as Digimon. And of course, the story of Tai, Matt, TK, Izzy, Joe, Sora, and Mimi, or as they're called in Japan, Taichi, Yamato, Takeru, Joe, Koshiro, Sora, Mimi. Yes, some of their names sounded the same, but in Japan, but they altered it for a Western audience here. Those seven kids have to go through dangerous stuff. They have to go through a very dangerous environment that they've never been before. As giant creatures see them as as gainful opportunities to hunt them down, to eat them as their food. Excuse me. Holy shit. Okay. Yeah, but their companions, but their Digimon companions, are the only things that could help them out in order to protect themselves from such vile creatures. And so they have, but they would need to evolve into something powerful, and so they would. Of course, Tai would have his Agumon, um, Matt his Gabumon, Izzy Tentamon, Joe Gomamon, Sora Piomon or Biomon if you want to go if you want to go with the Saban dub. Um, Mimi Palmon, let's see, TK Patamon. You had those seven kids with their respective Digimons, and of course they have to now go through all the crazy environments. Some Digimon are going after them because, well, they see them as easy prey. These kids are trying to survive in a dangerous environment. They don't know, in fact, they're in another world where they cannot, where they don't know they don't know where the nearest fast food joint is at, or even if they can accept current money or any form of legal tender for that matter. They are in a world that they don't know, but their companions do know and help them out at least. We even hear some stories about these characters. Of course, Tai being this courageous leader, and of course, Matt, sort of a loner. He really doesn't, he often has like his like friction, and we often see like a friction between him and Tai. But as well as this, he and TK, they're brothers who don't often see or talk to each other at all because a long time ago, back when they were a lot more younger, their parents divorced. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about their parents in later detail. Mimi, this rich girl who or not really rich girl. In the reboot she was a rich girl, but she was like this like this total diva who's like, oh my god, I hate bugs. Oh god, everything is so hot and filthy. Yeah, but we realize she isn't as much of a prima donna as you think. Izzy or Kochiro, he's a smart kid, but he actually doesn't. But he doesn't have any real. But he doesn't have like real parents. Um, the only closest thing that he has to a mother and father are two people who had adopted him as his parents. Because especially in terms like I think in the Saban dub, his supposed dad actually happens to be a cousin of his real life or his biological dad, but neither but of course and of course he and of course his and of course he and his wife are the only two people that could legally take care of Izzy. Joe, Joe's another smart kid, but he's more of a reliable person that can help out people, especially especially in like in medical emergencies. But yeah, but he's sort of like somewhat of a wimp throughout the series. Like oh my god, like he doesn't know the first thing about the digital world. He's like, oh god, oh god, oh god, oh my god, what if these plants are gonna kill us or something? Yeah, like he's very concerned. And Sora, well, she's actually somewhat of a like as great as as great as like okay, as much as like she has like this like great like like a great sense of optimism and compassion. Her in real, her issues was like, oh yeah, she actually has an issue with her parent, well, her mother, involving, yeah, like oh, like when she grows up, she's gonna be the one taking care of the flowers, and no, you can't do anything else because I want you to look after my garden. Yeah, that definitely that, but yeah, and definitely a whole friction between the two. Yeah, Digimon. In fact, I think that's one of the many biggest distinctions Digimon has towards Pokemon is yeah, you do have some characters that deal with some certain situations, but in general, none of the characters you often see, but in general, the main characters you don't hear much about them having like okay outside of like maybe their goals like Ash becoming the ultimate Pokemon master, Brock finding that special someone. So as long as Misty doesn't go in and goes on Jeff Jarrett on his head with some blunt instrument, like oh, and Misty, she wants to be the one, like, she wants to be the best Pokemon coach out there, one that stands out from the rest, especially from her own sisters. Yeah, definitely they have goals, but never do we see these characters deal with like any real life issues, or at least issues that we can all relate to. So, and yeah, and the Digimon characters are more, yeah, in terms of the human characters, they're very relatable. You know, I mean, hell, some of them are relatable. Hell, you're gonna often have the two that disagree and bicker with one another. You're gonna have that one sibling pair that doesn't see that seldomly even is paired up with one another because their parents are actually, yeah, their parents decided, hey, yeah, I'm gonna take custody of this child, you can have this kid if you want. Yeah, definitely that. Definitely there's a lot of relatability with these kids. Like you can actually, like, if you ever watch this show, you can relate to some of them. Yeah, definitely there's plenty. And of course, but of course, yeah, and of course, and yeah, they definitely have to deal with the digital world as well. To at least not, because the Digimon in question are after them. But or at times they end up dealing with a certain situation. In fact, to the point where yeah, they really want their Digimon, to the point where they end up, of course, now having to understand that situation and of course they and their Digimon partner become stronger, much so that the Digimon digivolves into something powerful, like Agumon digivolve to Greymon. Yeah, definitely that. And of course, and as time goes on, the later episodes of Digimon, we actually see some of the Digimon not through their own volition attacking other people or attacking other Digimon. And it's own and what's causing them to attack is a item known as a black gear. The black gear often giving any Digimon that doesn't seem like a threat, or doesn't or while might be a threat or is a powerful being, nonetheless has its own free will to do whatever it wants. Yeah, all of a sudden, a black gear shows up and possesses them to be evil and wants to destroy everything, and or wants to destroy the Digidestin and their Digimon. That that definitely that is the reason. And definitely these kids are like, who is making these Digimon evil? And of course, once they find out, once all their Digimon, with the exception of one of them being TK's Patamon, they find out, of course, they would find out that there is one person that is doing that. And of course, that's where I have to talk about Devimon. Now, Devimon, of course, shows up in the later episodes. And of course, he sees Ogremon and Leomon fighting. Of course, Devimon provides Ogremon and Leomon a chance to be a part of his group. Of course, Ogremon, of his own volition, says, "You know what? I'm gonna join you, Devimon. You provide definitely something worthwhile. In fact, you might provide me infinite power." Meanwhile, Leomon is like, "I am not joining you. You are definitely not somebody who I would join willingly." Towards Devimon being, "Oh, I'm not. Oh, you're not. Oh, if you. Oh, you're not joining. Oh, if you're not joining me by choice, then I'm going to make you join." And of course, we see that he happens to have black gears with him, and of course, he uses a black gear to get Leomon to do his bidding, and Devamon is the one behind the black gears. And so he of course so of course he sends Ogremon and a possessed Leomon to go after the Digidestin. Much so that later on that the Digidestin have to go and find a place to sleep later on, or at least try to regroup. And so they end up in this mansion where, definitely everything looks fine. Everything looks innocent. In fact, everything about it doesn't have any issues. None of that. Nothing dangerous or spooky or anything like that. There's food ready to go already. But then all of a sudden, once they're asleep, suddenly from one of the paintings, Devamon shows up. And of course, he initiates his plan. But Tai finds out, and of course Tai ends up seeing that, yeah, Ogremon and Devamon are inside. And of course, Tai gets his friends. So Tai and Agumon, they get his friends and of course their Digimon up. And of course, they now have to deal. And of course, Devamon shows up and says, "Yes, you have fallen into my trap. I have put you guys here in this house that looks safe, but in reality is not what it seems to be." Him creating an illusion that, of course, is nothing more than a empty, broken down home, or rather ruins of something of a house, and the food that they ate never existed. Holy shit. Making the kids not only famished and parched, as in, yeah, hungry and thirsty, but oh my god, the Digimon themselves are running out of energy and they need food to power themselves up. But of course, but of course, the Digidestin, and of course these seven kids and their Digimon, they have to fight off this dangerous threat. Yeah, and of course, Devimon's goal is to rule not only File Island but also, yeah, he actually technically he does also would like to rule the rest of the digital world, but we see that he wants to focus on File Island, much so that he would even separate the Digidestin and their respect. They would, he would separate the seven kids and their Digimon apart from one another, though of course, meaning that Tai and Agumon would be in one pairing, Matt and Gabumon in another pairing. um yeah, and of course they would have to try to find each other. Matt does find Tai, but of course Matt is more worried for TK than anyone else. And of course Ty's like, I know you're worried, but we need to find everybody else though. And of course Matt obviously disagrees with him. And of course the two happen to have a bitter disagreement with one another that both sides throw hands on each other. Yeah. They literally try to beat the crap out of each other. It's like, wow, definitely is not the time to fight, you two. I mean, fight the enemy, not each other, okay. But definitely they're in a tough situation. They don't know what's going on. But yet Matt of course explains to Ty why he's worried about TK, because he's a young kid, he's a younger child, and he worries that, oh, something bad could happen to him, and if it does happen to him, well, he's never going to forgive himself, or better yet, his family would not look at him. Better yet, his family would, of course, not look at him in a very positive light. And yeah, especially that he doesn't see his mother nor his younger brother. Yeah, definitely a very crazy thing to go by. And so, but in regard, but and of course, Ty, he does understand Matt's feelings, and so yeah, both him and so yeah, and of course, Ty would tell Matt, hey, but that's why we need to be a team, because right now we don't know where the hell we are, and I think we could help out one another, and Matt kind of goes on the side of agreeing, because of course, whatever differences Ty and Matt have right now with one another, put them to a side. You have to deal with an even bigger threat. And of course, you have to find your way home too. Seriously, you're stuck in a foreign world. Not Definitely not something you're not aware of. Meanwhile, other people have separated from one another and eventually found each other later on. Sora and Joe, alongside with Biomon and Gomamon, they found each other in a right nearby an island containing Bakamon, who, yeah, they were first celebrating like a festive like holiday that is not Halloween, but then, and of course featuring some random people with mask, like disguised mask. But these people aren't really human beings. They happen to be Bakamon themselves, and want to, of course, proceed to actually to eat the children and their respected Digimon. Um, and oh, by the way, Ty and Matt deal with a Frigimon who of course gets possessed by the Black Gears, and as well as another Digimon as well that also has a powerful side to him as well. I forget the other one. Um, Digimon. I don't know. It looks like the albino version of that honeycombs mascot, that the critter creature that that giant like fur ball, literal fur ball that's like me one honeycomb. Which, that by the way, that shit is nightmare fuel to watch. Even as a kid, I didn't even want to buy this fucking cereal because of this mascot. Seriously, I didn't want honeycomb because of this. Because of the fucking advertisement. Like, fuck no. Captain Crunch at least sounds more of a fun adventure than going to than going to deal with a frickin' honeycomb critter testicle monster. Ugh, fuck no. Anyways, back on topic though. Joe and Sora try to find a means of escape from the Bakamon group. Izzy and Mimi, of course, of course they end up they end up at an old ruins, guarded by Centaurmon, and of course they have to try to escape that labyrinth. Meanwhile, and as for TK, he and Patamon are the only ones who don't have a pairing with another person. But they end up in Primary Village, which is like a small little place where a lot of young where basically it's like where baby Digimon are created. Especially that these baby Digimon happen to be and of course they explain that in the digital world Digimon don't die. They get they get they get reincarnated into an egg. And of course they hatch up and of course they end up being a they end up being sort of a pre-evolved version of what they were. Which by the way, I am explaining right away the life and death concept of Digimon. In fact, the first two adventures, the Digimon don't die in this one. Digimon, they don't really die in the digital world. They just of course become a small. In fact, if they die, they become a digi egg, and then as time goes on, they hatch, becoming a small little infant Digimon in their infant form, and of course, as time goes on and you raise them more, they of course become well what they previously were when you found them, or they might evolve into something a lot more powerful. Um, but of course, Devimon is still hunting down those children. And of course, not only had he had some Digimon possessed with black gears going after them, but he even had his own but even then and he even had his own goons after him after those kids too, excuse me. In fact, Leomon in fact by the time the rest of the kids founded their way to Primary Village, they would take on Leomon and Ogremon. And of course, they would discuss, and of course, the Digidestin would discover that that their Digivices can also undo the darkness that that Devimon had, of course, given to the other Digimon. So they would combine they would combine their Digivices to, of course, to go with our powers unite. We we vanquish the evil that Leomon has in his heart from the Black Gears, and of course, all the Black Gears are jutted out of Leomon. And of course, Leomon is back to his normal self, and he even explains to the kids, "Yeah, you guys need to defeat Leomon. In fact, you guys are the only hope. You guys can do it. We can, and I mean, I can take you to Leomon's place. Not Leomon's place. I could take you to Devimon's place so we could finish him once and for all. And so they did. Although it was and they did had a crazy battle. In fact, it was to the point where Devimon got powerful, where he was like, "I will use all the black gears and make myself more powerful to destroy those seven children. And you know what, Ogremon? I'm gonna take your powers too and use them for my own." And so he does. Those seven children, those six children, excuse me, they were fighting tooth and nail against them. But TK and Patamon, they were like, "Oh my god, we need to do something. Our our friends and their Digimon are getting beaten up by Devimon." And that's when Patamon would digivolve into Angemon, Devimon's opposite, because Angemon is an angel of light, while Devimon is a devil, or an angel of darkness, or a demon guy. And of course, Angemon would go hand of fate on Devimon, punching a punching him in the stomach, punching him in the gut, well, punching him in the center, leaving like a huge crater. And of course, Angemon would delete Devimon, and of course, well, found a way to separate Ogremon too. And of course, Devimon, Devimon is no more. File Island is merged and of course, File Island, which Devimon would separate the island, would merge it to would of course be merged back together. And of course, the Digidestin have stopped in greater evil. But in doing so, it costed them an ally, as TK's Patamon, who was an Angemon at that point, would make the would of course become a Digi Egg as part of the Digimon life cycle. And of course, they would mourn the loss of Patamon, but they would later on discover an individual named Genai. And so, and of course, he would explain in full detail on how to get out the island, but that will be a story for another day. Okay, so with that, I finished the introduction slash Devimon arc. And I'm going to say it's an impressive way to start the first few episodes of Digimon, as it introduces the Digidestin to us, to the world, what they deal with in their lives, and their Digimon companions helping them out. I'll talk about how the Digidestin get their crest at some point in time, and talk about what that kind of what the crest represents to them. But for now, but with that, I would say the original the introduction slash Devimon arc was a pretty good arc to start. Yeah, the kids would deal with a lot of crazy. Yeah, the kids would deal with something crazy upon their summer camp day. They would end up in another world, which probably they're there for a few more years, or more than a multiple amount of days, and are probably and of course are worried and are worried even to the point where, oh my god, we need to find a way out of here. And of course, try to get back to civilization once we had to deal with this great evil and such. And they do deal with that great evil, and of course liberate any Digimon that was possessed by that great evil's by Devimon's black gears, which definitely there's a lot to go by in terms of this first arc. And of course, I will cover the later arcs. I will talk about the Crest arc, and what kind of powers the Digidestin would later on provide, and as well as any additional arcs that I would like to talk about. So, yeah, And with that, I guess we'll move on to the next topic. Okay, so I've explained the Digimon. Okay, so I've explained Digimon to you guys, and now I guess it's time I explain Power Rangers to you guys because once again, Power Rangers is making yet another return to toy shelves. Yeah, in case you guys don't know, this year we're getting Power Ranger toys for the first time since 2023. Oh, sorry about that. I bumped into something. Yeah, Power Rangers is yeah, Power Rangers is making a return to toys in 2023. I mean, not 22. In 2025, excuse me. Jesus. Look at that freaking calendar, man. Anyways, and of course, there has been news already circulating about the many things happening at that time. And of course, without question, a new toy company is going to make the Power Ranger toys. Um, of course, well, okay, they're not really new, but they are new to making Power Ranger toys, and that company is Playmates. Because in case you guys don't know, Hasbro will no longer be doing Power Ranger toys. They are not going to be doing any more Power Ranger toys. If anything, they're not. In fact, they're mostly not going to be doing. In fact, they want to mostly be a intellectual property holder, meaning they only want to do. Meaning they only want to hold like properties and licenses or a lot of stuff. But but any company that wants to make like Power Ranger toys gonna of course talk to Hasbro, and of course they'll provide variations for the Power Ranger for for upcoming Power Ranger toys or content involved. And so it was announced on this year it was announced at this year's at this year's toy fair that Power Rangers was going to make a return to toy shelves through Playmate Toys. Playmates Toys is known for they're known for making, of course, they're known for making Ninja Turtle toys, and as well as other toy brands like Toxic Crusaders. Um, let's see, let's see. I think they also have done other content as well, but they're mostly known for Ninja Turtles and Toxic Crusaders. Um, and they've announced that they will do the Power Ranger toys for Hasbro. Um, of course, through something called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Reignition. And of course, this reignition line will involve, of course, uh, making their release of the Automorphin Power Ranger figures, which is just the head flipping figures. And yeah, and I mentioned Mighty Morphin, meaning once again we're going to be going back to the old Mighty Morphin Power Ranger eras of Power Rangers, which I know people are going to which half of the world, like half of the fandom's like, oh no, not Mighty Morphin again. I mean, come on. Can you do another season outside of Mighty Morphin? That's them, not me. And of course, but for me, I kind of feel. For me, I'll talk about that in a way. I'll talk about that how I feel about it in a way in a bit. But I want to get the toys out of the way. So yeah, they are re-released. So yeah, they are making their version of head flipping figures. Um, yeah, and of course they will include their power weapons, and blade blaster accessories. Um, of course, they will also make like their own power morpher for $20, like $20 prop, which is just going to be mostly a plastic morpher prop. And yeah, and even making combinable dinosaurs for the toy line. Um, which of course they have released which of course at the toy fair, the Power Rangers, yeah, for the Power Rangers stuff, they announced, um yeah, not only, yeah, like a Megazord, like not only like they're like they've announced like two variations of the Megazord, like a deluxe combinable one that of course seems a little bit more faithful to the toy line itself. But then they're making another combinable Megazord, only bigger. Only this one's far more bigger. In fact, so yeah, known as the Ultimate Megazord, which yeah, definitely it's a big old Megazord, and also definitely it's a combinable Megazord and is a lot more articulative than their deluxe Megazord, which definitely a lot of options out there, and of course does have a lot of playing features, and even comes with little minifigures, which I would not mind. Which okay, I do have plenty of Mighty Morphin Megazords, but I would like to at least see the Morpher. But there is but of course the but of course, as well as this, they're even releasing face mask figures of the or face mask props of the Power Ranger helmets, and of course the return of the power bikes, the motorcycles the Rangers had, um, or rather, that was only exclusive to the toy line back in '93, but was a thing in Japan through Kyoryu Sentai Zyuranger. As well as this, they're also re-releasing the Dragon Dagger. Um, of course, also with a Dragon Coin, and even releasing miniature, and as well as releasing small minifigures of other characters as well, including Monsters of the Week, Rita's um, Rita's like squad, and even plushies and even small little plushies as well of Power Rangers, of the original six Rangers, and even re-releasing and even making 8 inch and even making the original 8 inch, like a modern take on the 8 inch MMPR figures from '93. The ones that actually are like the huge ones, like with big size, articulation, a little bit much, but or a little bit more articulation. Yeah, they are doing these, and I gotta say, some of them are not bad. Others, I will say, yeah, definitely not good. And I'm actually looking at some of the images and shown, but of course, and of course, in addition, they've also announced that there will be a show involved, that will be available on YouTube and Netflix. Or rather, it's just a rerun of the first season, but with a twist, and that is that the show will be remastered in AI. Yeah, artificial intelligence will be remastering some of the Power Ranger footage, for the reignited show. Um, so what do I think about the figures and what do I think about the figures and Zords, and as well as the show? Well, I'm going to talk about the figures in a way first. I will say that these toys, they kind of look a little bit more fun than the Hasbro offering. Don't get me wrong, the Lightning Collection stuff is cool and all, but but you didn't really have like okay like toys that were aimed for like you like oh you didn't have like okay fun toys to go with, which which I wish they could have done that originally for Hasbro, but I'm glad that Playmates is doing that. Even to the point where they're including like and as well as including like okay old stuff that we have seen before, but they don't mind taking a gander at it, especially a little bit more modernized and better paint jobs, and even including the including like other classic stuffs involved. I will say I definitely won't. I mean, I'm not going to be collecting the auto flipping figures, especially that I already have like various MMPR toys of the Rangers themselves, as well as Rita and Goldar, and at least a putty. Though I can always make like a small little putty army of my own if I want to. But we're also getting Finster, Squad, and Babu. So yeah, definitely worth having, and as well as the Rangers as the original bikes that they had for the toy line. Though it's going to be a little bit more of a modern take on it, which they would include like a gimmick where where they could launch the figures out of the bikes, which seems like a cool idea. Yeah, the battle bikes. Um, and yeah, they even and they're also doing like okay, like regular old action figures. Um, though some people are already complaining that oh no, these toys don't have much colors to them and all that. Well, some of them are just prototypes, but already some people aren't really having the best of faith on these toys, especially that some people are not happy with again the theme being once again Mighty Morphin. I can understand. There's a lot of other flavors for like Power Rangers is kind of like the various flavors of ice cream in a local ice cream shop of sorts, be it big or small. You have different flavors. Why go with the obvious one? And don't tell me just because it sells. You have, I mean, come on now. You got to do a lot more to offer than that. But other than that, though, I will say definitely there's some cool looking ideas that they have in mind. Some of them are just prototypes that they have yet to paint it. And of course, they even have like a bigger version of combinable Zords, which definitely looks cool. And yeah, would I collect? Will I be collecting some of these things? Probably not, but some of them will just be released as an individual set. Others a full combinable team. But the one thing that I'm really more excited to do is to get the Power Morpher. I never really got a hold of the various offerings like the Lightning Collection version of it or the Legacy line, but I would not mind buying this, especially for $20. Which honestly, I feel like $20 is worth having. But I mean, I'm not really that interested in buying it for like $100 and $50 at retail. Like, not really interested in buying such a thing unless it's like from Bandai Premium, which in that case, which and even then, it's gonna be like from an import from Japan, which definitely would cost me more money, but hey, it's an import from Japan, and it's mostly under the Super Sentai title. But at least I could buy like a Power Morpher for somewhat cheap for $20, which I would not mind. Same with the Power Blaster or Blade Blaster, excuse me. Power Blaster is actually the combined power weapons of the Rangers. Um, yeah, but I will. But if anybody thinks that, oh well, I'm sure you'll also like the AI MMPR, the AI remastered version of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Well, let's get this out of the way. I am not a fan of this one because okay, I don't have to watch the first season on this one. Like I don't have to watch season 1 again. No, I don't need to watch season 1 again. Even if it's going to be on Netflix or YouTube officially through or Ninja Kids through their social media sites. In fact, there is already season 1 of MMPR on the Power Rangers official channel, which is where you watch um, which you could watch like any episode of PR if you want. But I'm only gonna say this. I'm only gonna say this. At least I don't have to watch. At least I could watch it as it was originally shown to me back then. Because AI remastered, no, no, AI doesn't look all that good. Um, and I don't know why, but I really don't. But I'm not really. But the AI remastered season 1, I'm not looking for. I am not watching that one, especially if AI is going to be doing it. Like, I really don't want to watch an AI re-rendered version of the first season. Like, has its, or AI already has its problems. Okay, all right. I mean, I know there are some people that have good AI that could do well with AI art of their own, like good AI art. Like I've seen some AI art of various characters of certain pop culture stuff, but yeah, there's been controversies involving AI. Hell, some with companies that have done it for commercials. In fact, in fact, I'm still. In fact, if anything, I've seen the Coca-Cola Christmas ad from 2024 where it had AI rendered stuff, and oh my god, it looks boring. It looks boring as hell. Hell, it looks terrible. Like, what the hell? Like, seriously, what the hell were they thinking on that one? Yeah, I am not look. Yeah, AI rendered MMPR season 1 is not worth watching, folks. All right, if you want to watch the first season, there's your I mean, Power Rangers official YouTube channel actually has it, or you could buy the physical copies wherever you could get them on Shout Factory or wherever. But no, I'm not looking. Yeah, the AI re-rendered version of season 1 is one thing I'm avoiding. The toys, I might look at them in person at shelves, and if I tend to buy them, great. If I don't, then oh well. Then oh well. I'm the only thing I'm probably more after is the morpher itself. But yeah, some people don't like this, which is understandable. Others say that yeah, they should just do a different season, which also understandable as well. Like I said, I mean, it won't always appeal to anyone, but if it does work, but if the idea works and all, and well, of course, we eventually see like like their take on Dragon Zord, then I would not mind owning I would not mind just buying that one. Yeah, yeah, and of course, probably, and yeah, and again, Playmates. And to anybody that would expect Playmates to do like a premium version of a Power Rangers Megazord, Playmates does not do premium versions of any toy of any kind. Hell, I mean, if they wanted to do like like if there was like a premium Ninja Turtles toy that you would want, it would have to go through another property, specifically something like a NECA or I don't know, like maybe like Super 7, because sure as hell will not be with Playmates. Playmates, they mostly just do toys that are just aimed for children, or at least are kid oriented, which I would not mind buying the Morpher prop because honestly, it doesn't. Honestly, I would say not bad idea. And $20 ain't all that bad. I mean, yeah, there's your option. Some people might not be fans of it, but hey, I sure as hell would like to buy that one. And yeah, and especially that I tend to collect at least not only Power Ranger props but Sentai props, um, or at least or at least role play items. So yeah, and I own like a rubber foam version of the Power Saber and Dragon Dagger and Saba, the talking sword. Although the Saba head does not look right, but I could always make mods with it if I want to, or well, if I end up breaking it the head off, I might treat it as my Lord Draken variant. So yeah, hey, there's my options. But as for like the toys and all that, I mean, some might like them, some might not. I'm indifferent about them. I might get them more for, but I already have. But I hope this reignited line can also do other seasons as well. Because I mean, come on now, you can do other seasons. Like like I would not mind them doing like a reignited Turbo season, even though Turbo's not always that beloved, but it has its fans. I'm one of those fans. Same with Operation Overdrive, same with WoW Force, same with Time Force. Especially Time Force, which the Lightning Collection only did the Red and Blue Ranger. We never had the other four. We never had the yellow, we never had pink, we never had green, and we never had the Quantum Ranger either. What are the best Power Rangers and no toy of him? We want I would like them to do other seasons. I mean, but I'm guessing it all comes down to whether or not we answer with our wallets. I mean, to some I would not mind answering my wallet to some of these things. But we shall see. But we shall see indeed. But for now, but the one thing I'm not going to pay attention to is the AI remastered of season one. That is not my. No, no, no. And no, I mean, and yeah, and it's probably going to give the 2010 remastered or reversion of MMPR a run for its money. But yeah, I am not going to. Yeah, like maybe the toys I'm interested, but if they wanted to do a Power Rangers show, I don't know, maybe just do like a modern retelling of the first Power Ranger season. I mean, there have been several animes that have done such things before. I mean, and of course, yeah, and I spoke Digimon Adventures early, but basically there was a 2020 version of the Digimon Adventure, and that one actually had a new story. That one had a like a modern story to it, even if it was just the Tai and Agumon show, which some people criticize about it. At least it told a new story of the old Digidestin. Same with Tokyo Mew Mew with its reboot. Though yeah, though they did away with a lot of filler. Though that one did a lot away with a lot of its filler episodes and had more of a focused content, like the episodes or arcs that people truly cared or mattered. Like Miyu Ichigo's like love relationship with Aoyama, and of course Kishu or Kitch getting or Dren as he's called in the 4 Kids dub. Yeah, definitely that. And yeah, I mean, I'm a dude, and yes, I am a dude who in 2005 watched Mew Mew Power. All right, okay. I mean, yeah, I know. Don't worry. It's nowadays it's not much of a problem, but oh my god, back then, oh god. It's like, yeah, you can't enjoy something because and it's specifically aimed for something else. But yeah, I'm sorry. But other than that, though, yeah, they could have done something, but yeah, but going back to the reboot, but going back to a Power Rangers show, they could have done like something like a modern telling of a classic show. And they don't even have to. I mean, they could just include new actors if they wanted to. All right, especially that we're not going to see some of the older actors anymore. Two of them are no longer with us in life. One of them is currently dealing with legal issues, and and I don't. And even if we wanted Walter Jones, Amy Jo Johnson, or David Yost back, they're probably going to do some other thing in their lives as well outside of doing a Power Rangers show. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna say it. The toys I'm more or less looking forward to just to see what they are in person. And if I'm interested in buying some at my local, like at a retail store or online, then there you go. The show, not as much. Some of these toys will be released at least around or at least around later on in 2025, and some of them later on in 2026. So yeah, definitely. But other than that, the toys are the only things that I care for, not the show, not the supposed show. But anyways, that's all I gotta say. Okay, so I guess it's now time to call it a. I guess it's quitting time for now for the podcast. So I'm gonna make my closing comments and say the following. Um, yeah, later on I will talk about other things involving Toku and anime content related. In fact, I do have like an idea on wanting to tackle another like I do want to talk about another like I would like to talk about like okay, real life events and as well as the Toku and anime and what Toku and anime had dealt with in terms of real life events like okay, the whole like of course what happened in 1995 involving the Tokyo attacks, and what some shows had to deal with, and as well as like some animes even making references to that unfortunate tragedy, in terms of oh yeah, like one of its characters being being of course one of the many victims involved in that actual attack, in their fictional telling of that event, and as well as this, I also would not mind tackling a lot of like other topics as well involving Toku and anime. In fact, I would not mind. I would not mind talking about Yu-Gi-Oh, which is really one of my favorite animes out there, and I would like to discuss the first season of it, or at least the original season zero Takahashi, more of the one that was based on Takahashi's manga work, the one that followed the original work more, and rather than just being what we know it now as a card game. Um, yeah. Oh, and also I do intend to. Oh, yeah, and also I still have like footage for like the convention that I went to. But I have been very busy as of late this week this past week. But in addition, though, I do intend to take some breaks in terms of making podcasts. Like that way, I won't wear myself out throughout. Um, Later on next week, next episode, I don't know what I might talk about. Maybe I might go and continue to talk about the second season, or not second season, or talk about like part two of the Digimon Adventure 1999. Talk about the Digidestin's crest, and the introduction of the new villain Edamon. Because definitely Digimon has like a lot of interesting stories, But I like to separate the first adventure to four, at least to like four or five arcs. Excuse me. The first one we just covered today is the original Devimon arc, or the introduction arc, featuring the seven kids going onto this, like, end up in a remote island in another world that's not the same as ours. But anyways, so yeah, I'm gonna close this one for now and say my Patreon and Coffee accounts are or in those, you know, um Patreon at Patreon, of course, AstroTide94, Coffee, AstroTide94. My social medias are my Instagram is at AstroTide94, Threads at AstroTide94. I do have a Facebook page, which I do intend to post more stuff there. Um, and with that, and with that being, oh yeah, and oh, and later on, of course, in April, I or late April, I do intend to go to Collecticon Houston. So yeah, with that being said, folks, my name is AstroTime94. May you guys have a great day, and as always, please be kind to one another. I mean, life is tough right now, especially in these current situations, not just in the United States but worldwide. So yeah, please be kind to one another. And with that, I will see you guys all later on. All right, till then, bye.